Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, The Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. This is your Breakfast Bankroll Midday Market Report, Big Ten preview for October 7th and 8th. Already 1 week through October. The time is fine. I mean, huge sports weekend. I love this time of year. You're in the week 4, 5, and 6 of college and NFL. 4 wild card games today. Best of 3 series, no travel. The race to 2, where you lose game 1 and it's all hands on deck. Exciting times for sure as we get through the month of October and the first week of November, where the World Series will start. And I tell you, MLB hoping for an Astros-Dodgers, Astros-Padres, meaning warm weather and a dome. It would suck if it was the Subway Series and, first pitch is 28 degrees and snow flurries. So I know this is the Big Ten review. I know we got cuts of Draymond Green dropping haymakers. And I saw the Steph Curry presser last night, and he's like, we keep this in-house, yada, yada, yada. And without Draymond, they wouldn't have all these rings. I get all that. And I guess Poole is getting a little, I don't know, flexing his muscles, pumping his chest, because he knows that they're working on an extension where he's going to get paid. And but man, that was a haymaker. He was buckled, and a lot to talk about after the snooze fest last night, which I didn't watch one iota. I enjoyed following social media as everyone was cursing their TVs on what they were watching. I mean, Ryan versus Wilson. I mean, if we went back 15 years ago, and it was just Wisconsin versus BC where they both played, there would have been a better game. But I know this is Big Ten, but there's a lot on the table. Let's bring him in, Southside Riley himself. Let him get this party started. Morning, Riley.
Happy Friday, my friend. I am envious that you did not watch a second of that football game, because I watched every second of it for some reason, and it was a perfect segue, because it looked like a ugly, nasty old school Purdue Northwestern punt fest, field goal fest in the Big Ten. So kind of a perfect lead in into our show today, because it was disgusting. You did not miss much unless you're a Russell Wilson or Matt Ryan hater. Then if you're one of those two, then you had a field day last night. But it was an ugly game. So I am envious that you did not waste your time on that one, because I certainly did. But we got MLB playoffs I'm excited for as well. For Big Ten country, I'd love to see some 25-degree late October, late evening weather as far as that is concerned, with some ugly cold weather there. But no. We'll have some good baseball today, and a little Big Ten action tonight, a few other college football games tonight, so maybe we'll dive into that. But nonetheless, I am ready to rock and roll. We've got 6 games, I think 12 of the 14 teams in action. Minnesota and Penn State, I think, are off this week, so a nice little breather for Minnesota there. So I am ready to rock and roll wherever you are, my friend. We've got Nebraska, Rutgers tonight, so that one should be a little interesting over here. You've been helping us with these Nebraska game breakdowns here.
Thank God, baseball. Thank God, because I don't need my week started, my weekend, with the Nebraska loss at Rutgers. I did see one spot too. Did it go back? Dropped out here. There we go. One spot did drop to 2.5. It quickly went to 3. And over opened at 50, now down to 50 and a hook. We know the Nebraska defense has not been able to stop anyone this year. Wow, we're having some internet issues here. Apologies.
That's all right.
Give me your initial thoughts. Right team favored. I mean, we've been waiting and waiting. If Nebraska sheeted, I still don't think they could get there over 7.5. Those tickets have long left the building. Initial thoughts on this game.
Initial thoughts without seeing this line. I mean, I've obviously watched a lot of I've been, watching more Big Ten than any other college football games this year. And on paper, I mean, this Nebraska offense bounced back last week against Indiana. And aside from that Oklahoma game, their offense has looked really solid. So was kind of surprised to see this line. If I'm being totally honest with you, I was fully expecting it to be more than a field goal. So to see it right here and to hear some people saying it was lower, and now they're interested in Nebraska. I don't know. This one stinks to high heaven for me. Rutgers, I mean, their defense alone the last 2 weeks has not been good. I think obviously Ohio State is one of those, but 27-10 loss to Iowa. The way Iowa's offense is playing, that's not exactly the score you want on your resume right now. The way their offense is playing. So, it got into my head before I saw this line. I was expecting Nebraska to have another nice, a nice offensive day like they kind of did last week, honestly. I guess I'd give Rutgers a better defensive edge than I give Indiana in last week's game. But I'm not touching this one, man. I mean, you look at Rutgers' offense. Yeah, Nebraska's defense has been bad, but aside from the monster offensive outpouring they had against that Wagner team, who's just a total dumpster fire. Just throw that one out. They put 66 up against them. But in their other 4 games, 22 points scored in that win against Boston College to open things up is their highest point total. In the last 3 games, 16 against Temple in a win. That's not anything to write home about. And then 10 the last 2 against Iowa and Ohio State. So I don't quite know what to expect in this one. If Nebraska put up 40, it wouldn't surprise me. If this one's closer to a lower scoring game, that wouldn't surprise me either, honestly. I don't know. The total is at 50.5. And for a Rutgers game, I guess my heart would lean towards the under, but this one's gross for me. I'm not touching this one at all. Any thoughts, any confidence either way, or is this one just a clear stay away for you?
Well, I'm looking at team totals. Nebraska 26 and a hook, minus 110, and Rutgers 23.5 over 120. Initial thoughts is they want you to take the over in both spots. They figure Nebraska gets to 27 and Rutgers gets to 24. There's your initial 51. Yeah. The total is going down.
Yeah.
So what does this tell me? 24-23, 24-21, 24-20 Nebraska. That's what the initial tells me.
I think I'm with you. Like I said, leaning towards the under, I guess. I'm just looking at, it's been a couple of years since I've played 28-21 Nebraska. So, I guess I could buy into a bounce-back Rutgers defense in this game, despite the way they've played the last 2 weeks. But, it's a hard stay away from me. I for your sake, I hope we've got a Nebraska win. Because the Big Ten West is still up for grabs, obviously. But, if they lose this one, then it's about all she wrote for the old Cornhuskers this year in the Big Ten West. But, yeah, I'm staying away. Hard stay away for me.
I'm going to say this as well, and because you brought it up in the intro, we were ready to circle the wagons, and a lot of people, Riley, were putting Minnesota as one of these. Listen, they had looked great, absolutely fabulous leading up to last week. A week off that they desperately needed. Outside looking in, what does that loss do to your thoughts moving forward in the Big Ten?
For Minnesota, you're talking about that Minnesota's loss. Honestly, I kind of leads perfectly into this next game because I was maybe the leading if I was maybe leading the bandwagon as far as talking about Minnesota and honestly, what's that?
You were the conductor. You were the
Yeah, I
leader.
was. And honestly, that loss put that one back. Purdue is another team that I've been talking about a lot, so I don't want to flip the switch totally there because I think Minnesota will be fine. The one thing, though, I talked about Mohamed Ibrahim, and I don't know if I've ever seen any team cover up an injury the way they did, and I saw so many experts like myself talking about him. Not saying I'm an expert, I'm saying alongside me, people talking about him like that. And even betting on him for that game, and then to show up and not even play him for a second, it was really shocking to me. So I'm assuming they'll get him back in a couple weeks, and I'll be right back on him. And I think they'll be fine going forward. Looking at the Big Ten West, everybody except for Wisconsin is 1-1. They're 0-2. This Purdue team, if they can beat Maryland, kind of segue into this next one, if they can beat Maryland, they've got the easiest remaining schedule in the Big Ten West by far. They do not have Ohio State, Michigan. Well, Michigan State's not playing well anyways. They don't have Michigan State. Already played Penn State, should have beat them. They're 3-2, should have also beaten Syracuse, obviously outside of the Big Ten. But this Purdue team's better than people are giving them credit for. If they can beat Maryland, not saying it's a given, but if they can beat Maryland, who's in the Big Ten East, they have such an easy path to roll right through the Big Ten and be that team in the Big Ten West representing. So tomorrow's game against Maryland is a massive one for the Big Ten West. If Purdue loses, then it's back to anybody's ball game, and maybe I'm back on the Minnesota train if they can get through a Penn State team if Minnesota's playing at their best. So that's kind of where my thoughts are at. It's those two teams really I think are the best two teams in the Big Ten West. Wisconsin obviously at 0-2, tough hole to climb out of. Illinois and Iowa had a huge game tomorrow as well. That game could be a massive one. I'm really not sure. Obviously, I've told you I'm an Illinois fan, not quite a diehard, but they're playing the best football they've played in maybe 15 years. So I'm still trying to figure out where my thoughts are exactly on that team and where I expect them to go. But Minnesota and Purdue are still really, really good. That Minnesota game last week, aside from Ibrahim being out, really felt like they were drinking the Kool-Aid on themselves for the entire week leading up to it and really fell flat on their face. The home crowd really could not get going for a second in that game. So it was an ugly scene. I think they'll bounce back, but kind of leading me into this next one. I think Purdue, if it has a chance to win tomorrow, and if they do, I think they're going to win the Big Ten West there.
I get a lot of salty feelings with a lot of Big Ten teams. Purdue, a couple of weeks ago, we had the team total, and they were kicking field goals. Last weekend, we dove in on the over of Maryland, and I'm just looking at some of these matchups, and I have a hard time where a team gets me the week before, then to bounce back on that horse, and I should.
Yeah.
I should. And looking at some of these matchups, I mean, to put Purdue after what they did last week, Vegas is on the Purdue wagon because Maryland's only a 3-point favorite this week.
Right. And I think people are buying into people are starting to buy into Maryland. I see a lot of the money going towards Maryland. So yeah, I'm a big fan. You've heard me talk about it. Aside from Minnesota, I've been a big believer of Purdue here. And Maryland, obviously, the close game against Michigan. They get the nice win against Michigan State. Might be more about Michigan State than it is about Maryland last week. But, I'm pretty damn high on Purdue, my friend. I am pretty damn high on the Boilermakers going forward here.
All right, next up.
Going right there, Purdue and Maryland. It's +3 right now, +3 and 3.5 in certain spots. Seeing a little different action there. I think it's like FanDuel is the one that's got it at 3.5. The money is coming in on Maryland to some degree here. Not crazy, but looks like 65% or so of the bets. Total, this one's at 59.5, and for good reason. Both these passing offenses are really good. A lot of people talking about Maryland passing offense. I also believe in this Purdue passing offense as well. Like I was saying, I really think this team should be 5-0, if not 4-1 right here. They've had a couple of bad breaks in the two losses that they've had. Not enough credit goes to their defense. I'm not saying it's winning any awards, but it's better than people are giving them credit for. Aiden O'Connell, his health is improving per Jeff Brom, their coach. He's obviously banged up the last few weeks, missed that game against FAU, was banged up last week. He's starting to improve, so I really think these two teams, I think this is going to be an awesome game to watch. This is probably my most, like I said, it's a huge game for the Big Ten West, so it's maybe the game I'm looking forward to the most tomorrow out of the entire college football slate, or at least the Big Ten here. So I'm kind of firmly on Purdue here as far as giving them a legitimate chance to win this game. Team totals, I think it's 30.5, 28.5. for Purdue here. So, I think Purdue can get over that, but, I really think Purdue can get this win here. So I'm taking the +3 and also a little interested in that team total. But feel free to disagree with me if you would like, my friend. Obviously, this is just a point where I've put enough stake into my confidence into Purdue here, and as good as Maryland has been at times, I think this is a good matchup for Purdue here.
I gotta agree with you. Again, I think Maryland. I think of an up and down. I think of I give the edge to the Purdue defense. Believe it or not, so impressed what they did last week. Tough to get back to back, but I think you're starting to see. The opening week loss to Penn State, who obviously is a juggernaut. We'll know more next week or the week after when they go to the Big House. But I have to say I agree with you. What do you have for a money line on that game?
It is. I see +135 is maybe the best number that you can get. That one's on DraftKings, and I took a +3 and I took a tiny little sprinkle on the money line for this one.
I'm going to follow that lead, Riley.
Yeah, and if they fall on their face, then I'll have egg on my face, and the Big Ten West will be wide open. But yeah, for how much I've talked, and I talked about their schedule. If they get this win, they'll be 2-1. Probably a couple other teams tomorrow will get a win and be 2-1. But they host Nebraska after that. They go to Wisconsin, who is not going to be able to put up any points on them, enough for them to slow down Purdue. Purdue then plays Iowa, Illinois, Northwestern, and Indiana. So you've got a handful of the bottom feeders of the league, and then some tough defenses without much offense in Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois. So if they win this game, I would be shocked if they don't run the table, if I'm being totally honest with you. And then they have that huge tiebreaker now with Minnesota and Penn State on the other side of the division, so I don't have to worry about any tiebreaker there. So I'm pretty firm now that Purdue is going to win this Big Ten West here.
I agree.
Alrighty, next one up. Like I said, that one's my most anticipated game. There's another one, I should say. I guess I've been trying to hold my bias out of the other one there, like I was kind of alluding to there. But we'll save that one for last. Michigan at Indiana. The Michigan laying 22.5. This total around 59.5. Like I was talking about with Indiana, their defense is just flat out bad. Nebraska took care of it last week. I think just about everyone, really the game, Indiana beating Illinois, now that we've seen Illinois play, is even more, head-scratching and surprising. Illinois should have won that game nonetheless. But, the last handful of games here, 30 points allowed to Western Kentucky, 45 to Cincinnati, and last week 35 to Nebraska. Team totals in this one, 40.5, 18.5. Michigan's run game is a little better than their pass game, obviously, and Indiana's pass defense is worse than their rush, but their rush defense is still not a good unit by any stretch here. So if Michigan has any type of passing accuracy, honestly, that's sometimes that's been the default of them. They had a few against Maryland where they just missed guys. If they've got any passing accuracy in this game, I think they can go over that team total right there. I'm not sure if I'm diving completely in, but I think they can get up over that 40.5 team total. What are you thinking on this one, Jeff?
Is it next week or the week after that they play Penn State?
It is next week. It's at home next week. Yep.
If there's ever a look ahead a pancake game, it's this one. They were at Iowa where they've always struggled. They got Penn State. I think that the actual number was 21.5. The Publix pushed it up to 22.5.
Yeah.
Probably be 23 by game time. Here's my take on this. If I had Iowa team total over 14 and a hook last week, I have to have Indiana team total over 18.5.
Okay. I can absolutely see that one. I could see, I could see Michigan's offense maybe being okay. Not saying I love that, over 40.5, but I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, as bad as their defense has been, their offense has been able to score. So I actually kind of like that one because you had some bad breaks with the Iowa train last week on offense there, which, honestly, Indiana, they might be a better offensive unit than Iowa is potentially. So I could see it, and obviously with that number, I think it's 18.5. So I like that suggestion. I didn't have that one quite on my radar, but and I kind of overlooked the pancake game of Iowa last week and Penn State next week. So I'm kind of interested in that one with you. I appreciate you putting us onto that one there.
Hey, listen, I hats off to Harbaugh. Last year, steamrolls get to the Final Four. Steam came in on them on their game, and it was just, the speed, the SEC speed got them. And you thought maybe a letdown year. He hasn't taken his foot off the gas.
No.
Obviously, we get the appetizer next Saturday against Penn State. We're all waiting for the Ohio State game.
Right.
But with that said, it's been business as usual. Everyone wanting to fire Harbaugh, and he says "F you." And I appreciate what he's doing.
100%, and I mean, 100%. At least giving some type of opposition in this conference right now to Ohio State, I think is exactly what you need. So yeah, I'm 100% with you. Got to give them credit. They're steamrolling teams this year too. So I think they win easy tomorrow. But yeah, I think maybe their defense lets up a handful of points, as you were kind of alluding to there. So next one up. Interested in what you think on this one. Wisconsin at Northwestern. Paul Chryst is out as head coach of Wisconsin. They are at Northwestern, who obviously is 1-4, has not looked good at all these last 4 weeks. Their defense has kind of improved lately. The last couple of weeks, not terrible. And then after a few nice offensive weeks, their offense is kind of going down the trash. So the interesting thing, I'm not saying take Northwestern, but 4-1 last 5 against the number versus Wisconsin. Split the last 4 years. They've gone back and forth the last 4 years. So not saying Northwestern's winning this game, but I'm giving them at least an iota of a chance here against Wisconsin. Not saying I'm taking it, but it would not shock me at all to see Northwestern winning this game. But you know what? The under 44.5 kind of lit my eyes up when I first glanced at it, but it seems a little too good to be true. Like I said, this Northwestern offense has not been playing well at all. I think 7 points last week to Penn State, 14 to Miami, Ohio the week before. But obviously Wisconsin's offense is at times pretty challenged. Last year, Wisconsin beat the brakes off of them pretty easy here. So it's a firm stay away from me. But do you have any insights on this one? Any confidence either way?
Can you give me there it is right there. Okay. The 8 to 10.5. Okay, a couple things in my thought process here. New coach, you're supposed to think about that. Maybe it lights the fire. With that said, Northwestern stunned Nebraska in Ireland opening game and done nothing since.
Right.
Truth be told, I think it's a perfect spot for Northwestern this week.
And it's like I said, it's kind of the last 5 years. Wisconsin, then Northwestern upsets them as 4.5-point favorites. Wisconsin wins easy. Northwestern comes back and wins the 7.5-point favorites, and then Wisconsin blows the doors off them. Last year it was 25-point favorites, and they covered. So down at 10.5, yeah, I could absolutely see. If this was an 11 a.m. game, Jeff, I think I would be taking Northwestern. Those are the types of games that Northwestern typically bites Wisconsin. But, yeah, I'm with you. I don't know that I'm betting on it by any means, but I give Northwestern a legitimate chance in this one. Do you agree with the total on that one as far as if Northwestern has a chance? Do you think it's lower scoring, or do you think they're scoring some points?
A 43.5 now, 44 juiced over. I do see a 44.5 in some spots. Their only successful game was kind of a shootout against Nebraska.
Yeah.
I guess if you took Northwestern, I would have to lean over, because if it's a low-scoring game, that means Northwestern's offense isn't doing well and Wisconsin defense is doing well.
Right. No, totally understand that. Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. So that's why, like I said, that total kind of lit my eyes up as far as an under, but if it was like 39.5 or 40.5, I might have a little more confidence in that one staying ugly and real low. So I think I'm with you on that one there. So 2 more left, actually. Next one up, potentially another blowout on our hands here. Ohio State at Michigan State. 27.5 is the number. Ohio State goes, they will be at home in 2 weeks. They've actually got a bye this next week here, so they've got a nice off week after this one. Michigan State will be hosting Wisconsin next week. Michigan State 2-3, not having the season they'd like to. They have not looked good at all. We are looking at 27-point favorite for Ohio State, 64.5, 65 is the game total. Team total 46.5 for Ohio State, 18.5 for Michigan State. Jeff, you have been talking about if they give you a team total for Ohio State, take the over. Last two meetings between these two teams, 56-7, 52-12 for Ohio State here. And Michigan State's offense the last two, 7 at home against Minnesota, 13 at Maryland last week. Are you feeling good in Ohio State team total going over in this one, or is there any other way to get into this one?
No, and I'm salty with Michigan State. We had the over in the Michigan State Maryland game, 21 points scored in the first quarter, and then they just played grab ass the rest of the way. And Maryland first and goal from the 1.5, and they couldn't punch it in the third quarter. That killed that over. We have said it in June, July, August, September, now October. Anytime that your book is gracious enough to give you an Ohio State team total, just take the over and enjoy it. And until you'd have one loss this year of doing it. The only one thing that scares me just a smidge is that they have next week off. And sometimes they look ahead knowing, hey guys, we got next week off. They're playing an inferior opponent. But this Ohio State team means business with the Georgia Bama teams. I don't want to say struggling, okay? But, Georgia the last 2 weeks has not looked good.
Right.
And Alabama with the Bryce Young shoulder issue. Again, you have a chance to gain some more style points. And I just think it's early and often and just keep hitting them. Yeah.
And I as far as the potential letdown, as far as the off week next week, I think I could see that if this were a different opponent, But this Michigan State team is a big enough rival for Ohio State that I think they'll show up for this one. This is one that they always find a way to, no matter the circumstance, show up for. So I think going team total over is a good bet on this one. They should steamroll this defense. This defense is terrible, and Ohio State is far superior here. So. Last one up. Now a sort of a big game as far as I was talking about the Big 10 West. Illinois hosting Iowa. A lot of people thought Illinois would be improved. They were surprised to see them at this. I know team total or season win total for Illinois 4.5. So at 4-1, they are close to cashing the over tickets for a handful of people there. Both teams 1-1 in the Big 10 West. Illinois with the loss to Indiana. Iowa with the loss last week to Michigan. Obviously, the offensive challenges of Iowa is kind of the leading narrative here for any Iowa game. But obviously, Illinois, the home team here, their defense has looked fantastic. Absolutely shut down Wisconsin last week. Gets Paul Chryst fired. 31-0 Chattanooga before that. 24-3 Virginia. And then the loss to Indiana before that. But, I'm not saying this is just me stating facts. Illinois has not beaten Iowa since 2008, my friend. That is 8 straight wins for Iowa between these two teams. A little bit of a gap there, but 2008 the last win. But this might be the best Illinois team since about 2007 in 15 years here for the old Fighting Illini. So this actually, the home atmosphere for the first time in a long time might actually be a decent enough tiny little advantage here. They have not had much of a home crowd the last 15 years, or especially the last 10 years. And I think this one might be finally changing that script here. Chase Brown obviously is the name for Illinois that's been working. You know what? He was leading the nation rushing before last week's games. I know he went over 100, so I'm not sure if he's still number one or not. I haven't looked at that, but obviously he's the one that's making some waves right now. But Iowa's rush defense, 15th in the nation in yards per rushing attempt allowed. So you can imagine that he's not going to have as much success here tonight. Iowa's pass defense has also been very good. And this Iowa offense, I think you might agree, at least compared to where they were the first 2 weeks, is improving at least to some degree, moving the ball to some degree, scoring a few points here and there. So, like I said, I'm trying to keep my what little bias I have out of this one. I'm not taking Illinois at the 3.5. I think this game could be a lot closer than that. The 36.5 total. I'm not saying I'm taking the under, but I could see this one being right around that 36.5 number. So, any insights from you? Is this an inflated number with the way Illinois is playing and the narratives around Iowa, or do you think this is fair as far as the number on these two teams right here?
The actual crisp opening lines was 4.5 and 35. The coach for Illinois has just done amazing work out
Yeah.
there. I'm going to flip it to your Purdue side. If you're taking Purdue, I think this is a perfect spot to take Iowa after what happened last week with the loss to Michigan and a bounce back spot where Illinois riding as high as you could be. And I know they're at home. They've been playing phenomenal, but the Sharps are hitting Iowa. And I think Iowa is the right side. Illinois reminds me of Kansas as in the feel good story.
Sure.
And I think the numbers are right. Don't get me wrong. I think the Illinois should be favored, but I have to lean Iowa here.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to be upset. Like I said, I'm not a big enough Illinois fan to be cursing you out as far as not believing in the Illini there. So, no, I think the 3.5 is inflated. I've got a system here that puts it closer to a pick 'em and maybe even Iowa favored by by a half a point or something like that. So. As far as taking the points, if this one's inflated, then yeah, I think you go Iowa. But it wouldn't surprise me to see a 17-16 game, and regardless of who's winning it, obviously that would be Iowa covering. So I think it's going to be nasty. I think these defenses are going to make it tough for the other opposing offense. Illinois' quarterback Tommy DeVito has played decent, but this Iowa defense is tougher than he's seen. So. Yeah, I think I'm with you. Iowa and the 3.5 points is probably where I would go, but I'll leave this one on the desk. I am hoping it's a nice game to watch for the Illini here. I think I've got my sister-in-law is going to be in attendance. My sister-in-law's brother-in-law is actually on Illinois staff, so got a nice connection there. So hoping it's a nice atmosphere. But honestly, I was not kidding. I think this might be the highest attendance, most buzzed game on Illinois' campus in over 10 years. I think it's been 10 years or so since they've had a winning season. So hopefully it goes their way. But, yeah, I don't know. It could be an Iowa defensive night for sure here.
Yeah, I think it's a great I think even though it's a short slate, there's some intriguing matchups. And the tough part about the Big Ten is defense, running the ball. The colder the weather, the lower the scoring games. I know there's a couple spots where you got some 59s in the Maryland games and the Ohio State's games, of course. Big game next week, Michigan and Penn State. But the Big Ten is rounding into form. We'll know a lot more next week if Penn State can pull the shocker. Be interesting to see where Vegas opens up that number. Do they open it at 7.5 and try to get the Penn State money, or do they leave it at that 5.5, 6 to get the Michigan money there? So that will be intriguing. Don't forget, Penn State will have a week off, and they'll be getting ready for this one. Ohio State playing this week to get ready for a week off. Some good feel-good stories, as you talked about with the Illinois. And there was one other good feel-good story there that I'm missing off the top of my head. The downsides, obviously, the Nebraskas, the Northwesterns. So typical Big Ten football in October.
Yeah, a little reshuffling of who matters this season a little bit as far as Wisconsin in the down in the dumps. But, yeah, it has been a blast to cover these games with you as well and watch these games on Friday and Saturday. So I hope you don't have a rough Friday night with the old Cornhuskers and we get a nice game and a nice rebounded season. I mean, heck, if they, if this Big Ten West continues to be nasty, if they could win tonight, then, who knows? Anything's possible over there in the Big Ten West. Who knows who can win that thing? So I'm excited. That Purdue-Northwestern game, the Purdue-Maryland game, Illinois-Iowa game for the Big Ten West tomorrow are huge. So those ones will be for sure on my TV. I can't wait. The next game, Penn State, Michigan, is going to be an electric one, so I cannot wait. Absolutely going to be a hell of a weekend.
Our lone cash last weekend on Saturday, I hate to bring it back up, 1-5. Our field goal kickers went 1 for 9 with an additional extra point missed. Was the Nebraska team total over 33 and a hook, and they got there at 35. I saw a tweet, which I laughed at. They were talking about the game as it was going on. They're like, shit, if Nebraska wins this, which they did, they're still in it. They're still in it.
Everybody's still in it. I mean, really the Big Ten East, it's like the teams that have Michigan and Ohio State on their schedules, you're almost writing them off. It's like, all right, well, there's a loss. And then you got the teams like I was talking about with Purdue where they win tomorrow. They've got almost a cakewalk to 5 or 6 in a row. So, yeah, it's going to be some important games tomorrow.
I know this was the Big Ten. We wrapped up our Big Ten talk. I just wanted to pick your brain for a few minutes because Scotty Webb reached out. He's back.
Oh, nice.
So Scotty will be here this afternoon. Scotty will be here tomorrow morning. And your birthday is on Sunday. So you get the weekend off after this.
Alrighty.
So want to pick your brain on the Riley Southside effect, on what you, thinking coming into baseball today. And, again, as I state, you lose today and it's all hands on deck. And this is the kind of neat, and I don't know if it's neat or not, but some of these series that get to 3 games with the Braves and the Dodgers, with the Yankees and the Astros just sitting here licking their chops, like blow these. They want 3-game series in all these, blow out your pitching. So we can just get a cakewalk for the next rounds. So we'll start it off with the first game. I know we talked about it, but, give us some thoughts on this 4th series and where your head is.
Yeah, I mean, we've got one starting in 10, 15 minutes as far as Tampa Bay and Cleveland, so I guess we'll just go right down the line. But, yeah, we talked about this one, Tampa and Cleveland. I guess I didn't see what if the lines did anything overnight now that people are waking up and betting on it, but McClanahan, Bieber today. As far as today, it wouldn't shock me if Cleveland got this one, but I obviously voiced Tampa Bay as having a nice chance of winning this series. Glasnow tomorrow. We talked about how he's come out of the scene. I guess I'll stop it right there before I continue. Do you expect? I think he only pitched 3 innings and 3 2/3. Do you expect him to maybe go 5 innings tomorrow, or do you expect them to let the leash off? And if he's pitching fantastic, maybe go 6, 7, or is 5 going to be the leash?
They're praying he gets to the 4th and 5th inning, and they'll go right to the bullpen. Any signs of anything, there'll be a quick hook there.
And I guess if they lose, even more so, probably right today.
Correct. I'm looking at the tote board right now, and I will just tell you this. Overnight, heavy money came in on Philly. They actually flipped to a favorite. Now it's back to 105 there. The Guardians, late money coming in on the Rays right now. That's down to a 122, even a 117, as low as a 115 I'm seeing. Money pouring in hand over fist on the Mariners right now. The Jays are down to 125 in certain spots. And the Mets, the money's coming in, trickling in on the Padres. So that's just your overnight account.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to look at it right now as well. I don't know. As far as this Tampa and Cleveland game, this one is the one that I'm staying away from today as far as picking a winner, and then, maybe have some, more confidence in tomorrow and potentially Sunday. But, I mean, total 5.5. It's almost a toss-up, especially with these guys. I think McClanahan probably has a decent chance of bouncing back. But some of these guys haven't pitched in a handful, more than just the typical amount of rest. So maybe it takes them an inning to really get their feet under them. I don't know. But I don't know. Do you buy any of these totals? I guess we'll stop there, too, for a second. Do you buy any of these totals, or is this no chance all these games are this low scoring, take a bunch of overs, or do you think they're all going to be this low scoring and they take a bunch of unders? Any way to slice that bread? I don't know.
We were doing a show this morning, me, Dave Sharapan, Brady Tinker, and he brought up the 5.5. I'm like, holy shit, who's pitching? Is it Pedro Martinez versus Oral Hershiser? I just, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
You will see as soon as we're done this show and you put the game on, once a guy gets on first base, it is literally like pins and needles because every run counts. Right. Now, 5 and a hook. Think about this. Now, the mindset is always this: when you got a 6, 3-3, you're a winner because someone's got to win the game.
Right.
When you're seeing 6s, gentlemen and ladies, it usually goes under.
Yeah. 100%. We aren't typically totals guys, but I 100% agree with you. Any interest, like I was saying, any interest in any of these? Some of these guys haven't pitched in maybe 10 days, 8 days, whatever. Any chance there might be some first inning rust? And we I don't know that you and I have ever really talked about yes runs first inning, no runs first inning. But any interest in any yes runs with maybe some rusty pitchers coming into these games today? Out of your comfort zone?
Wow, that's a hell of a question there.
Because you could have egg on your face, and you're betting on 8 of the best pitchers in the game, and they could look fantastic. That's the other alternative, though, as far as taking yes.
All right, I'm going to do the board for you. Okay, sure. Nerfy, Tampa, and Cleveland.
Yep.
Yerfy, Philly, and the Cardinals.
Okay.
Nerfy, Seattle, Toronto.
Okay.
Yerfy, San Diego, and the Mets with a Soto bomb.
Soto bomb. Okay. I bet that I'm going to check. I'll double check that last one here because I bet that I'm assuming that Mets and Padres one is probably the let's see, biggest amount of runs that you can get. Let's see. Well, they don't. I don't know. I can find it in a second. But either way, I think I'm with you. I think there's going to be a couple of games that have some yes, and then a couple, obviously, the guys are going to look fantastic there. So I'm still on that. As far as that Padres and Mets game, I told you I'm a believer in Darvish in certain spots, and tonight is the case. I'm taking a little piece of the Padres puzzle today. So I'm back in some nice Darvish action today. So that's one of the ones I was going to. The Cardinals game is I could see that one going both ways. Cardinals not as much success against righties as they do lefties, so you could see that one being low scoring. But I don't know. I'm leaving that one a toss-up. I think really the only one that I have enough confidence to take anything is that Padres game. The Seattle and Toronto game, I could see it being another low-scoring late. Maybe the bullpens are kind of the deciding factor in that one. But I'll turn it back to you. Any confidence on any of these games that you're willing to put anything down on here?
I think when it comes to 3-game series, 5-game series, 7-game series, guys, I think it's better off to play the series than the individual games. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, with that said, think about this. You got Tampa and Cleveland, and let's just say ECSI VIPs know I released the Rays. Okay? Yeah. If the Rays win game 1, you have a free swing on the Guardians in game 2.
Right.
We also released a side on the Philly and the Cardinals. Now, think about it this way. These guys are wheeling out Wheeler and Nola, and they're going to be dogs in both games. Now, I'll just tell you this. If the Cardinals win game 1, there's no way in holy hell Nola's not a favorite. Right. He will be the favorite in game 2 there. So I think there's a potential for a lot of 3-game series. Now, I'll tip my hand to anyone that's watching and listening. And I don't like to be Sigmund Freud here. I think the Mets are in trouble. I think the fact that they had the East one all year, they got caught at the wire. They're already looking ahead to save DeGrom. Now, obviously, if they lose game 1, DeGrom's pitching game 2. If they win game 1, Bassett or Walker will pitch game 2. And then they lose that, DeGrom's pitching game 3. Okay, yeah. But the fact of the matter is, I think the Padres are in a prime great spot tonight.
Yep. I'm 100% with you. I can't say enough about Darvish in this spot as well. So, that is where I'm going. Do you have a lean as far as today's Phillies and Cardinals game?
We released the Cardinals to win the series. I know it's Jose Quintana. And listen, this guy has been my kryptonite forever. Really? And back in your Paleho days. And it's just starting pitching. We broke this down earlier in the week. Starting pitching, Phillies get the nod. Mm-hmm. Back end and Bridges, Cardinals get the nod. Now, right. Storyline, Yachty, Pujols, the history of the Cardinals in the playoffs. This team has been a magical ride. We have talked for months about the Brewers and those March tickets that everyone said couldn't lose. I've been saying for months, get on the Cardinal train. What is it going to be? Mikolas game 2 and they're saving Wainwright for Sunday night? I don't know. I just think I don't want to see Schwarber lead off the game with a homer, put it that way.
Right. Yeah.
I'll just tell you this. A lot of money's been coming in on the Phillies. I took the story. I think the Cardinals find a way to win this, and it's probably going to be a 3-game series.
I think so too. I might even say that might be the safest bet to be a 3-game series. I out of these 4, maybe, I don't know, but I lean towards the Cardinals today. Not in love with it. I also took the Cardinals on the series like that more than just taking them today. So that's kind of where I'm leaving that one. But yeah, Quintana, you mentioned it. Had an awesome stretch with the White Sox. Turned into Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease. So I've got a lot of love for him. He had a nice couple of years during some bad years for the White Sox. And he's a guy when you you don't really expect him to have to go 6 innings, give up only 2 earned runs, and then the next thing he knows, he's right there in the 6th, 7th inning, having a really nice game, keeping you in this game. So, I think I'm leaning towards the Cardinals, but I could see that one going either way. And then Seattle and Toronto is really the one today and the whole series where it leaves confidence from me by far. Leaves confidence on that game in that series by far. I like Manoah today, but I didn't take anything today, and I don't think I took anything on that series. Any which way you're leaning today for those two teams?
I think if the Jays are going to be successful, it's a must win today. Yeah. Castillo's been lights out since he came over to Seattle. Tomorrow is the Robbie Ray revenge game. He'll get the ball against Gausman. So they let Ray go for Gausman. That's going to be intriguing. Again, the number opened at 170 for a reason. They needed Seattle money. They got it. Another hell of a story these Mariners have been. I'm rooting for the Mariners. Sure. I haven't done anything on that series. It's down to 125, 118 in one spot. So the money's just pouring in. If you like Manoah today, I would even venture to say grab him in the first 5. Hope to get a Bo Bichette, a Guerrero, some kind of homer, get that 1-0 lead through 5, and then hope the back end holds on. But that's going to be a fascinating series.
Yeah, and the atmosphere should be very, very good. St. Louis atmosphere should be awesome. All these atmospheres should be awesome. So, I cannot wait. There was the one question I meant to ask you yesterday. This is not for this weekend necessarily, or not really for this weekend at all. Any thoughts that the Yankees might have some trouble in whoever they play in this next series? Do you think the Judge home run chase kind of clouded their vision on their goals or kind of thwarted the momentum that they might have had, or do you think they'll be just fine going into their next series here coming up?
Who do they get the winner of?
I think it's Tampa or Cleveland. I could be wrong, but I think it's those two.
I mean, if Cleveland gets through, it'll be the Cleveland story. The Guardians. I think the Jays. I think the Yankees are okay and safe in that first series, as well as the Astros. Now, in baseball, the hot team, the story, something always comes. That Seattle team is so dangerous. They got 3 guys that they can wheel out there with a Castillo, with a Robbie Ray, with a Gilbert. Their back end has been phenomenal. They got J-Rod. It's been a great story. They hit the timely homer when you need it there. But if we're talking Tampa, they're not afraid of the Yankees. They've been there before. Right. And I'll take Tito over Boone any day of the week there. I just think we're lined up for Houston and the Yankees at Houston. And I'll flip the switch to you. I know the Dodgers won a bazillion games. I know they're the team to beat. How are you going to slow down this Atlanta team?
I don't know, and I guess I guess the hope is that their pitchers aren't pitching well at this time. I think that's maybe the best hope, but I'm not counting on that. Atlanta is the one team that keeps sticking in my head. I think this is as good as the Dodgers are. I think this might be the time for. Obviously, last season was as well, but I think we could have 2 years in a row where it might be Atlanta in the NL. So. I'm kind of with you on that one. I think Atlanta might be on a nice, easy, nice path here. St. Louis, though, I talked about it yesterday. St. Louis just is another team, though, with it's been a few years, obviously, but the postseason success that they've had during my lifetime, maybe that's all it is. And it's more than my lifetime, obviously, but during my lifetime, they've had a ton of postseason success, whether you expect it or not. So, maybe they pull something out of a rabbit out of their hat and take down the Braves. But yeah, it's gonna be tough to beat the Braves. That's the answer. It's tough to beat the Braves right now.
They won the World Series last year without Acuna, and guess Acuna is playing.
Yes. Yes, I am not doubting them by any means. I'm not going to be taking anyone in this series against them, at least at this point here.
I'm going to let you close out this show. You get a trip to London. You can get up early and have a cup of tea. Daniel Jones is off the injury report, so he'll be playing. I think Galladay and Tony still aren't playing. It's going to be the Barkley show. We know that. You're sitting comfortably. Aaron Jones should have a big game. Can we get some A.J. Dillon, please, into the end zone? It's been a while. Thank you for the Tonyan touchdown.
Yep.
Thoughts on the early game in London?
You know what? I'm gonna have my Packers blog out hopefully tomorrow evening. So be on the lookout for that. And I've got confidence that the Packers will win this game. Really my biggest concern is that they just over in the Matt LaFleur era have not had a ton of success traveling long distances for the most part. California, Florida, the biggest cases where they just haven't had a ton of success. And the vibes from Matt LaFleur, I think they'll be fine, but I'm a little concerned that they could be maybe a snooze fest on Sunday morning and not be quite ready for the jet lag. I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe they'll be fine. I don't know. But that's at least going to keep me pumping the brakes a little bit. But I do have confidence that, like you said, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, rushing game should be good. Daniel Jones doesn't really concern me. If the Packers can put together a nice game plan, I think they should be able to defend it. Like you said, Saquon should have a nice day. I've got him in one of my fantasy teams, but the Packers defense should look a lot better than it did last week. But if they don't put the right game plan together, then Saquon is going to have a nice day there. So I'm a little concerned as far as that is concerned. But looking at Jair Alexander off the injury report, same thing with Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins, Alan Lazard, Josh Myers. So starting to get healthy. Adrian Amos, who had a concussion, is really and is questionable. Is really maybe the biggest potential loss that we would have. But I think in this game, this might be the one game where his services won't be needed as much against Daniel Jones here. Obviously, it would hurt, but he's one of the unsung safeties in the league, I would say. But, as long as the offense continues to progress, I'm going to feel good about this matchup for sure here. I think Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are a safe bet to have a nice day tomorrow. I think both of them could have a nice day there. So, this Giants defense hasn't been terrible by any means, but, when they've been tested the most, they've let up some points. So, I think the spread is probably pretty close. I'll give the Packers a 7-point win. So I'll be staying away from the old Packers spread there. But, I think it'll probably be another one where it doesn't look the prettiest. But I think they'll be, 5-1 at the end of the day or 4-1, whatever it is. So, I'm going to dive in here the next day or two here into some deeper stuff and have some close, harder facts on some bets and whatnot. But, the travel to London definitely does scare me. Anything can happen when you're making that trip across the pond. So, be tentative on it, but I think it should be a nice day for at least a couple guys on the Packers offense.
Well, just as I said, the weekend's off. Scotty reached out. His wife's favorite holiday is Halloween.
Okay.
And he literally has to set up like the haunted house of all haunted house outside. So he's just sent me 9 pictures of videos and he's still got work to do. So my brother, can you be here for the closing bell with Mr. Lucky tonight?
I am available today 100%. Yes, I can absolutely do that.
All right. So it'll be 4 o'clock my time, 3 o'clock your time. That gives you a chance to get a little afternoon baseball action there. Great preview show for the Big Ten, a little baseball talk. We close out with the Packers, and we'll be back later this afternoon. How's that?
Yes, sir.
From myself, Jeff Dawson at DC Sports Invest, from the one and only Riley Magnuson at Riley_Magnuson, the one. We wish everyone a blessed morning and afternoon. Enjoy the MLB, guys. This is an exciting time of year. We get the wild card chase, not one and done, but the first 1 to 2 wins, and we got some great matchups here as Bieber gets through the first inning, no runs, and the Guardians are coming to bat. So it'll be interesting to see which Shane McClanahan shows up for the Rays. So we will see you guys in a couple hours with the closing bell and the return of Mr. Lucky. See you soon.